So I just got off of Twitch and Steam charts. I was taking a look at the numbers for Amazon's new game, Crucible, and it's gotta be said, it's not looking too good, guys. Looking over on Steam charts to see the number of people playing at the time of recording, there's actually less people playing this game than there is playing our beloved Realm Royale. And that's kind of crazy. This game's only been out for like a week. Realm Royale's been out for 2 years with like little to no updates for months on end, kind of just neglected by the developers completely, whereas Crucible is still very much an early project and also comes out from such a prestigious studio in the form of Amazon as well. And looking at the numbers on Twitch, it's pretty much the same, all the way down here at the bottom with 1,600 viewers, just above chess, but also below Anime Land and Drug Dealer Simulator. So clearly something is not going too well with the launch of this game, and that's what I wanted to talk about in today's video. So let's get to it, shall we? Now, first of all, guys, before we go any further into the video, I do want to remind you guys that if you enjoy this sort of content, make sure you go ahead and click the like button. Subscribe if you want more Crucible, more Baggins, more just, general videos here on this channel. And let's get into the meat and potatoes of this new game, shall we? So Crucible, for those of you who don't know, is a brand new free-to-play third-person shooter created by or funded by Amazon Games. So Amazon, one of the most powerful companies in the world, one of the most successful companies in the world, have recently, I say recently, this game has been in development for about 4 years, but they started to dabble into games. And Crucible is probably one of the biggest and one of the most recent that we've seen. I think there was a game called Breakaway a little while ago, but we're not going to go into that. So Crucible, first game coming out from Amazon, team-based hero shooter like you would get with Overwatch, but it's free to play, and it's been in the works for, my understanding is at least 4 years. So you would expect when a game like this drops, when something of this size from such a prestigious company with such a big name behind it like Amazon, that we're going to make a pretty big splash. And unfortunately, as you've heard from the start of the video, it's just not going that way. The game seems to be dying on its feet at an alarming rate, much faster than I certainly expected, and I think a lot of people looking at it expected as well. So why exactly is this happening? Well, the developers recently came out with a developer update video, which talks a lot about what I think is causing the issues with Crucible right now. They are promoting the game pretty heavily. It's been pushed out there. You've probably maybe seen an ad somewhere on YouTube for Crucible, probably on Twitch, on Twitter. They're sponsoring many streamers to play the game. And undoubtedly, a lot of people are jumping in the game to check it out, but I think the problem is they'll play one game and then they'll leave. Now, why is this? Is the game bad? Does it suck? I don't think so. I think Crucible is actually a really fun game. It's a unique take on a mix of different genres. A lot of people compare it to Paragon and Gigantic. I've unfortunately never had a chance to play either of those games, so maybe that's why I'm so infatuated with this one, because it's something that I haven't seen before, but maybe other people have. But either way, I think it is a solid game. It's only 15 gigabytes to download and it's free. So it's not really like it's asking a whole lot from people. So why is it so hard to get people to just stick around and play the game? Optimization. I think this is honestly one of the biggest issues with the game. First of all, it's only on PC. I know there's going to be a few people asking about the game on console. Right now, just a PC launch, just on Steam. But for the vast majority of people playing, myself included, it's so hard to get above 60 FPS while you're in a fight in the game. I've tried lowering all my graphics to minimum, turning off every background program that I'm running, and like I say, even in the most ideal of circumstances, I'm still barely able to push above 60 FPS when I get in a firefight with another player, which just, it's not as if I have a bad PC either. I'm not running the highest end specs, but I have a pretty decent rig here, and I just can't get a decent frame rate. In pretty much every other video game I've played, sometimes I lower the graphics, but I'm always able to get at least 100 to 120 FPS, but barely being able to get above 60 is just not really acceptable from a competitive team-based shooter like Crucible claims itself to be. And I know I'm not alone in this issue. I've heard many people tell me the same thing in comments in Twitch chat, and also I've seen some other streamers also complaining about the same issue, most notably Mr. Shroud, formerly of Twitch, now Mixer. In this video, he was complaining that he could barely push above 90 FPS.
I wish I didn't get 90 FPS, but hey.
And we all know that Shroud is not going to be hurting for hardware, being one of the most popular streamers, video gamers to this day. he's got to be running some beefy futuristic PC. So the fact that even Mr. Shroud is trying to lower his graphics to get better FPS just speaks to Amazon that there is an issue with your game. There is a really big problem, and they are aware of it. They did address this in the developer update video, which I mentioned. I'll put a link to it in the description down below. But they also said that it's not like a silver bullet. There's not like just they can do that and it would be fixed. And this is kind of worrying, because if they can't get the FPS to a sort of stable rate, I really don't think that we can look at ranked. We can't look at tournaments, because it's just going to be unplayable for the vast majority of players. Getting really low frame rates in fights is just going to make you miss your shots, miss your abilities, and it's just going to look like a bit of a joke to watch. So I'm not really sure what Amazon is going to do from this front. Another limiting factor when it comes to playing Crucible is I feel like it's not very new player friendly. There's no mini map on the screen to show you where you're walking around, where the objectives are. There's not really much in the way of information that tells you when you jump into a game mode what you're supposed to do. I mean, when you queue up for Heart of the Hives, you get the loading screen that says find the hives, defeat the hives, capture the heart. But when you actually spawn into the game, there's no hive available immediately, and it's not made abundantly clear that you have to wait like nearly 4 minutes for it to spawn. So you're just gonna find players like running around the map like, oh, I gotta find a hive, but there's no hive, so I guess I'll just shoot the other bad guys. And not being aware that the game does play quite like a MOBA, and that it's important to get farm, you know, killing the minions, or in this instance, the alien wildlife that's on the planet, in order to get essence to make your character stronger. There really just is a lack of information for new players. It's impossible to see how much weapon damage you're doing. You don't know how much medkits heal for. It's not explained how much a health amplifier or a regen amplifier, how much that's going to do for your character. I just really feel like there is just a base level lack of information for players jumping into this game, and this is going to make it really hard for new people to sort of enjoy Crucible and see past all of these issues. Indeed, it does prove it in the Steam reviews that if you sort the Steam reviews by the number of hours played, the more hours people play of the game, the more they seem to enjoy it. I know myself is included. When I first jumped into the game many months ago, maybe a year ago in the alpha, I was a little bit confused as to what's going on, but since then I've kind of forgotten what the new player experience is like. So starting to stream it and make videos on this, I can see all of these players having this issue, and Amazon see it as well. Again, they did address this in the developer update video. They're going to be working on the new player experience. They mentioned specifically they're going to be adding tooltips in the loading screen, but honestly, I don't feel like this is enough. Like, there's enough room on the UI in the game to add a mini-map up in the top right, and I really don't think it's going to hurt anybody. I feel like the player retention will go up once they actually know where they're moving around the map, and they don't need to press tab continuously to see where they need to be going. So hopefully this is something that the developers will take on board and will seriously consider adding a mini-map to the game, especially since there's only one map. It would just be so much more beneficial for everybody just to be able to see what they're doing, and then they can eventually, you know, learn it and maybe make it a toggleable option in the menu to turn it on and off. But I really feel like a mini-map would help with the new player experience in Crucible. Lastly, and a pretty big sticking point that a lot of people have been talking about, is voice chat, or just indeed any chat in the game. Right now there is no text chat, there's no voice chat, there's actually no way to communicate with your team, which is very bizarre considering it is a team-based game. Like, you can't play this game solo. You can queue up solo, but you gotta be put with other random players. So the fact that there is no way to communicate with the other players other than a ping system, it's just very strange. I'm hoping that at some point down the line, I don't know if they're prepared to make a statement yet, but we get to sort of look into the mind of the developers and ask like why there wasn't a consideration for voice chat or text chat. If it was something that needed to be added into the game, but you didn't have time, does that mean it was rushed out? Somebody higher up said like, you gotta get Crucible out now. Just all in all, pretty confusing as to why this decision was made. Now, if we give the developers some slack, this is, as a studio, I guess, combined, the first project they've released. I'm sure that a lot of people working at the studio have worked on other games before, but this is the first time they're working together, and the game is being released mid sort of global pandemic. Now, I know a few other games have come out during this time, most notably Valorant and Animal Crossing, but those are from tenured, you know, very experienced studios that have worked together with each other for many years, whereas these guys, you know, it's a new experience in there, and I can't imagine that releasing a game in this sort of like state that the world is in is ideal. The question could be asked, well, why don't they wait until like coronavirus sort of calms down and then release it then? but who knows how long that's going to be. So there is some slack that we could cut them for that. However, obviously the players are the players, the public is the public, and if they don't like a game, if they don't think a game is good, they're just simply not going to play it. So ultimately, do I think things are going to get better for Crucible? Do I think the game can pick itself up off of its feet and get itself back into the growth and the sort of launch that I expected this game to have, and I'm sure multiple people out there expected the game to have? Yes. Although it may have been a little bit of a curse for them on launch, having the Amazon tag next to their name makes people expect a very high quality, very well polished product, as opposed to if it came out from some indie studio. The benefit of being Amazon is you do have access to a lot of resources. I'm sure this company is very well funded. Certainly from their marketing that we've seen so far, they do have a good abundance of money to throw at it, to promote it out there. So naturally, you would imagine they also have a good amount of money to throw at it to fund development of the game and quickly get the content and the sort of fixes into the game that we need, and then go back to promoting the game once again, effectively almost having a second launch, calling it like Crucible Chapter 2. Now, the fact that this would have to happen so close to the first launch is a very bizarre situation, but hey, let's face it, we live in bizarre times right now. Some of the silver linings and cards that the game can play is ranked. We haven't seen ranked implemented into the game yet. There was going to be an exhibition or show match with Busta Rhymes and Mighty Mouse and some other streamers joining in as well, but they've decided to delay that, and I think rightly so, until the game is in a better state to showcase. So I really think that once we get the game into a solid state, once the frame rate can consistently go above 100 in fights for people who don't have an absolute demon of a PC, once we have voice comms added into the game, once there's a mini map, once new players jumping in actually know what they're doing when they go into Crucible, I think then the game developers could look at playing the tournaments card, you know, get a bunch of big high profile streamers in a tournament playing against each other, show the players that the game is now fixed and more stable, and then just continue on as if the shaky launch never really happened. There is evidence for games in the past doing this. We can look to something like GTA 5 Online, although it was quite a while ago now, and for different reasons, that game suffered a tremendous amount when they tried to initially go online with their servers. Diablo 3 is another example. I've heard Warframe also had a lot of issues when it first came out, and they've all blossomed into pretty fantastic games over time, so I don't see any reason why something like Crucible can't. It's a game style genre that we know people love. We know Paragon was very, very popular. Gigantic was very popular in the day, just mismanaged. So if we live in a world where Amazon can learn from those mistakes and do right where they went wrong, then yeah, I think Crucible can thrive, and I look forward to seeing it happen. I'm really enjoying this game, but ultimately that is just my thoughts and my opinions. I just wanted to put it out there and sort of create a bit of a discussion with you guys. What do you think about Crucible? Do you think the game can thrive after it fixes its issues? Do you think it is just a thoroughly boring game, as some people seem to say? What do you guys think about Crucible? If you've had a chance to watch any videos, you've had a chance to see any gameplay, maybe you've played it yourself, I'm interested to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. At this point, I'll do a cheeky self-plug of my stream. If you do want to catch out any Crucible live, links to that in the description down below. We're also providing fairly frequent Crucible content here on the channel, so if it's something that you're interested in, as I mentioned earlier, make sure to go ahead and subscribe. But yeah, that's this video, guys. Just wanted to sort of talk about the current state of Crucible. It's something that's been on my mind quite a bit, and I was just interested to hear what you guys have to say.